Hello, everyone. We'll take a minute or two before we get going with today's meeting. Bueno, buenas tardes a todos. Vamos a tomar un momento o dos antes de comenzar la junta. We'll give folks 30 more seconds and then we'll get going. Tal vez con unos 30 segundos más y comenzaremos.
No.
Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us today for today's meeting. Buenas tardes a todos, gracias por estar con nosotros. Antes de comenzar, before we start, we're going to take a moment to share our interpretation instructions. So I'm going to go to that slide. So voy a hacer esto primero en español y luego en inglés. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share the interpretation instructions, first in Spanish, then in English. Para las personas que nos acompañan hoy a través de tableta o iPad o de su teléfono inteligente o smartphone, favor de localizar el menú en forma de 3 puntos en la parte inferior de su pantalla. De ahí pueden seleccionar Language Interpretation o interpretación del lenguaje. Y enseguida pueden seleccionar su idioma, en este caso el español o Spanish. Para todas las personas que nos acompañan a través de su computadora, pueden localizar el símbolo de interpretación en la forma de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Hagan clic ahí y después elijan su lenguaje en español o Spanish. Ahora voy a dar las instrucciones en inglés. Here are the instructions in English. For all those joining us tonight through their tablets or iPads or through their smartphones, please locate the menu in the form of 3 dots on your screen. You can click there and then select Language Interpretation. Then select the language of your choice. In this case, it would be English. If you're joining us through your computer, you can locate the icon in the form of a globe for interpretation at the bottom of your screen. You can click there and then select English as your language of choice. So we'll give folks a second to connect to the audio. Another thing that we've added to our presentation here, just as a reminder, some participation instructions. We want to just guide folks to that raised hand feature. If you ever want to jump in, you have a question, you have feedback that you want to share with the group, you should be able to see that react button. If you click there, you'll see that raise hand feature. So that's a really helpful tool for our team to be able to see who is in the queue to provide comment, provide some feedback, or just generally wants to jump in on the conversation. So just a quick reminder for folks. Recapping our meeting agreements, we want to make sure that we are creating space for everyone to contribute, stepping up, stepping back. Only one person speaks at a time. That's a good note with that raise hand feature. It helps us as facilitators acknowledge the queue, but then also being able to hand that mic to folks. We also want to make sure that we're listening to each other. We respect each other's opinions, knowledge, and perspective. We want to be conscious of time. We have 2 hours. So just want to be mindful that we do have a packed agenda. and want to create space for other folks to be able to provide their comment and feedback as well. And then just a reminder to speak slowly and clearly for the interpreters. We are doing these meetings bilingual, so we do have community members, CSE members that are listening in that interpretation channel as well. So just be mindful of that. So for this next section, we're going to move to the roll call. So I'm going to stop screen sharing, and Jazz is going to pull up the roll call.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Buenas tardes. Okay, so starting at the top here, I'm going to call everyone's name. And if you are here, please say present or let us know in chat. Alicia Sanchez.
Present.
Andrew Aguilar.
Good evening, present.
Brian Bernetti. Ashley Valentin Gonzalez. Carissa Ayala. Carmen Gasiola.
Presente.
David Ramos.
Here.
Jack Munger.
Good evening, I'm present.
Massey Hatch.
Hello, I'm here.
Janice Luna Reynoso.
Hi, Jazz. I'm Sayed Sicarrillo. I'm Janice's proxy for today.
Good evening.
And also, I don't know if on there, if it still says it's for mothers. Can you change that to Mundo Gardens, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Jonathan Torres. Liana Rios. Jose Marquez Chavez. Brent Burge.
Present.
Josephine Talamantes. Carla Nava. Keith Corey. Shelby Busso. Carrie Robinson.
Hello, present.
Hello. Mariela Rodriguez. Kyle Hiscala. Phil Gibbons.
Here.
Good evening. Leslie Nishihara. Margarita Moreno.
Presente. Presente.
Hi, Margarita.
Hi.
Maritza Garcia.
Present.
Good evening. Martin Reeder. David Welch. Monstead Hernandez.
Did you say Montserrat?
Yes.
Present.
Nick Creety,
Present.
Sergio Hernandez, Roman Partida Lopez,
Yes, Roman, present.
Safia Haidari, Rosalba Ayala, Salvador Rosso Abrica, Sylvia Calzada,
Present.
Stephanie Yoon, and Vanessa Contreras. Okay. Thank you everyone for your patience with that.
And Jazz, just to confirm, I believe we did have quorum.
Yes, 16 are present and 22 are absent. So we
Yes,
have
good
quorum.
afternoon. Sorry for interruption. Just want to make a quick note. Janice and Sajesi are from Mundo Gardens. They're no longer from Mothers Up Front.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sylvia.
So I've pulled up the agenda for today. We just went through our welcome roll call. Next, we'll go through our approval of last month's meeting and notes, and then approval of the agenda today. We do have a little bit more of an interactive group or meeting today. We are going to be doing a little bit of a subcommittee breakout. So for folks that have done breakouts in Zoom, we'll be using that feature today and then breaking for a portion of the meeting today into subcommittees. Then Shalem's going to be leading us through the Portside CSC 5-year check-in. So doing a little bit of a seeing where we're at with things, and then doing a little bit of an interactive activity in that as well. We'll lead into public comment and then we'll join the meeting. So for the next section, I'm going to pull up our meeting notes from last month. These are posted on the website. I'm going to scroll through these. I know that there are a couple of notes, and then Sylvia, I think your note regarding representation will be added and I think reflected in the future notes as well. So given the attendance list here. See a thumbs up from Sylvia. So just going back to our presentation. So at this time, I'd like to open up the floor to see if anyone would like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes and agenda.
This is Maritza. I approve. Motion to approve the minutes and the agenda.
And then is there a second?
Sayetsi Carrillo will second.
Thank you. So we have Maritza as motion and then Maritza as a second. So we'll now move to a vote. Or actually, let's see if there's any discussion before we move to a vote. And then if there is any discussion, raise your hand, and then we can make a moment for that. Not seeing anything. So with that, we'll move to a vote. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, folks. So For this next section, we'll be providing a few updates on a couple things. So I'll be calling on a couple of staff to jump in on here with some updates. But the first thing that we have on here on deck is we got this information from CARB. This is particularly helpful for folks that are working with the different school districts. This is a resource for school districts that are looking to upgrade their bus fleet. So this information, I believe, was sent as part of the weekly digest, but we did want to highlight that as well. So for anyone that is working with school districts and have, seen that there might be an opportunity for them to improve or upgrade their bus fleet, this is a great resource that was shared. For this next section, Shalem, I think we're going to be putting you on screen. And Shalem, I think you're going to be giving us a little bit of an update on AB617 funding, but that's going to be grounded in a little bit of background as well for any new folks that have one are new to these meetings or might need a refresh when it comes to AB617 funding. So, Shalem.
Thank you, Christian. Good evening, everyone. So some CSC members, both at the international border and Portside, have been asking us to provide some information on the status of the AB617 funding, which funds the program that we're all a part of here today. And then also some background information, as Christian was talking about how is the program funded in general. So this general announcements updates will be partially one part education, and then the second part, one part update as well. So to provide a little bit of background before I get into the current status of AB617 funding, the AB617 Community Air Protection Program is supported by money from the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund, or also known as GGRF. The fund gets its money from the Cap and Trade program, which sets a limit or a cap on how much greenhouse gas pollution industries in California can produce each year. Companies can choose to reduce their emissions, invest in projects to reduce emissions, or purchase credits at special auctions. And the money from these auctions is then used to support programs that reduce air pollution and fight climate change. Next slide, Christian. So to contextualize this at the local level, one of the programs funded by this money is the AB617 program, also known as the Community Air Protection Program. So the work we do together to improve air quality in our communities. GGRF funding helps pay for things like community emission reduction plan implementation efforts like these meetings, translation, APCD staff, community participatory stipends, those types of things. It also helps pay for air monitoring equipment, lab testing, our community monitoring staff as well. And so some of you will be breaking out in a room with Curtis later today. All the work that they are doing and the reporting is also funded by GGRF funding. And then third, incentive projects like electric trucks, buses, the zero emissions tugboat at the port, HVAC, high quality HVAC systems in schools, and much, much more. So what's changing this year in terms of that funding? Unfortunately, for the upcoming state budget year, so fiscal year 25-26, California did not include money for the AB617 program in the state budget. Because the state is facing budget challenges, it moves some of that GGRF funding to support CAL FIRE, which is the state's wildfire agency, leaving less funding available for other programs, including AB617, that supports things like the implementation of the CERPs, the Community Emission Reduction Program, monitoring and incentive grants that I just touched on. So what does this mean for our our work together. The good news is that APCD has enough funding to continue supporting our work together this year. But if this shift in funding continues at the state level, it could really seriously affect the program in the future. Can go to the next slide, please. So is there still hope? Yes, absolutely. Final decisions about the use of GGRF funds will be made in August or September of this year. Some folks in the CSC have asked, well, how can they get involved and how can they help this effort? You know, APCD right now is working with other air districts throughout California to let the governor and legislators know how important AB617 is to our communities. And for those interested who express interest in supporting these efforts, you can help by sharing your support to continued support for continued funding. So if you'd like to get involved or send a message of support, you can contact the following representatives on the screen that in some way will be weighing in on potential funding within this fiscal year. There's potential for some movement of some state budget around for this fiscal year, but here are the key folks that would be making those types of decisions. If folks are interested in connecting with them and letting them know your experience with the program as well. I want to pause there. I really wanted to ensure that it was both educational, kind of grounding in, you know, where does AB617 funding come from, and then also provide that update as well for folks. But happy to pause here and answer any questions that folks might have. Also, I know that there are some California Air Resources Board staff here as well in the room, you know, in case there's any questions that they may be able to answer as well. But want to pause here for any questions from anyone.
And Shalane, we'll see if any folks have questions. I'm not seeing any raised hands or things. All right, actually, Maritza, see your hand.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you so much, Shalem, for that. And apologies if you can hear my daughter screaming in the background. She is having the time of her life playing right now. But I did just want to mention, not a question, I just did want to mention that today actually, before this meeting, I was in a meeting with the Office of Assembly Member Solage, who is working on a lot of efforts to try to advocate for AB617 funding. And there was talk about possibly having like an in-person rally in Sacramento. I know that not necessarily everyone is available to travel on such short notice, but I did want to just put it out there that if anyone was interested in learning a little bit more, I'll put my email in the chat, and you know, you can reach out to me, and the more information I get, I can pass it along to you as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maritza. And then if there's any information that you'd like for us to pass along on the listserv as well, feel free to send us that information. We could pass it along in the listserv as well.
Awesome, definitely will. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Shalom, I do see a question from Sylvia. I'll read the question for folks. Are there any expiration dates we need to know regarding the funding for GG?
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. My understanding, and maybe Domingo or someone from CARB can hop in as well. My understanding is that these auctions happen on a rolling basis in terms of how potential funding for these types of programs are replenished. And so, but given that there's going to be decisions around some of this funding in August, September, if folks are interested, ideally would be to engage in with your local elected officials or statewide officials, you know, between now and you know, mid-August sometime. But I don't know if Domingo, if you wanted to add anything else, or anybody from CARB.
Thank you, Shalom. You basically covered it. But yeah, this August, September is the time frame that we heard about regarding making decisions for the program. I'm not sure how much it is tied to an upcoming option, but as far as a decision point goes, that would be the time frame. So that's why we're sharing this time frame as part of it.
Thank you, Domingo. And I do see Roman his hands raised, so
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Shalom. Just curious as to whether there's like any opportunities or appetite to try to submit like a committee letter. I know we're pointing to like each individual to take action, but just curious like if that conversation has come up. I know probably timing is not on our side because I'm just looking at the calendar and the next meeting is not till the August 26th, so we might be running up against a deadline. But
Yeah.
just curious if like that's been discussed both like here, but then even like in your conversations that you're having with other air districts.
Yeah, so definitely every air district is kind of, and every community steering committee is kind of navigating this a little bit differently. There are certainly some CSCs that have formally submitted letters, and then also individuals that are getting involved. But certainly having this CSC as a group submit a formal letter is certainly something we could look into. I know that we'd have to, given that, like you said, the next meeting it might be a little bit afterwards. It might be something that may need to be voted on via email, which I believe our bylaws does allow us to do that. And Roman, if that's something that maybe Greenlining would like to maybe help support and kind of, and we certainly can support as well, but in taking the lead in kind of drafting the letter, and we can help support in terms of providing some background information that would be helpful for that we could then share with the folks in the CSC here via email and potentially take a email roll call vote if that's something that folks would be interested in.
Sorry, this is Domingo jumping in just briefly on this to add. I don't know if we've already shared with the CSC the letter that was submitted on behalf of CAPCOA with all the other air districts, but that could also be helpful as far as providing some background information as far as what other districts or what all the districts as a group are expressing in the letter. But yeah, I think Roman, if this is something that any member of the CSC would be interested in taking the lead in drafting that letter, we can certainly help organize, getting it through the appropriate channels to get it approved by the CSC. And like Sheila mentioned, I know that our bylaws allow for email voting. We would need to take a look at that and see what the process looks like, but that is certainly an option.
Yeah, I mean, if others agree, I think maybe we will ask the rest of the members here if there's interest in that, and if others agree in submitting an advisory a committee letter, I'm open to helping draft and then kind of following our protocol to then have it approved. So I'm not sure what the process here for getting other people's feedback.
And Shalom, I'm thinking whether, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to take a formal vote here, but I'm, just in terms of like informally, like show of hands or comment in the chat box if folks would be interested generally in supporting, so that Roman can, just, kind of see generally what the appetite is for that.
so I'm
So
seeing
some
a couple
positive,
folks,
yeah.
Maritza, Sietzi. Yeah, and I think if it is to move it forward via email, so I think that there are a couple steps. One, I think, is figuring out who would be working on that letter, and I think Shalom, as you noted, I think getting support from staff on that, and then the actual drafting of that letter, and then the sharing of that and voting via email. But I think we can confirm that as well offline and maybe send more information on that. I do want to note, I think that this information that we do have on screen, I think this has been shared. Domingo, I think the letter that you shared as an example of other Joel District's like support letter was sent, I think that would be a good addition to this as a reference point for folks to be able to see what, what's being said. So I think that's something we can send out as part of that CSC weekly digest.
Okay. Yeah, happy to lead the effort here. For others, if you're interested in helping shape the letter, please let me know. I see Maritza's email here, and I could reach out to Maritza. But if anyone else would like to support, let me know, and I could try to set up a call to discuss further. And then I'll just touch base with you, Shalem, and maybe Domingo on like previous letters that we've submitted to kind of be able to pull from that, and then and then we'll follow our internal process for voting approval.
Sounds good. Thank you, Roman. So I'm going to keep moving through our general updates section. So the other thing that we have on here is there is a public meeting to hear community an update on the community air program, annual progress report. So this meeting is in person. It is at the end of this week on July 24. The meeting itself is in person, but there is a remote option on Zoom. I believe that information has been shared through the weekly digest. But it is a good opportunity, I think, for folks to be able to join that. We think it's a good opportunity just to be able to provide a comment, but also hear what's going on across the other communities. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Lauren. Lauren's going to give us an update on some of the work that's been happening, some flyering, I think as of today even. Lauren?
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, just a quick update on the Office of Environmental Justice, what we've been up to in terms of outreach in the community lately. This summer's Parks After Dark series, so we're taking part in some of these events, which are happening Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays in park and recreation centers throughout the city of San Diego. So the closest one, the Portside community, I believe, is at Memorial Park. So this is pretty much every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 5 to 8. They provide dinner and treats for children, and then there's all sorts of fun activities, really like family focused, really, but open to everybody to participate. So if you're in the area and able to go, I highly recommend you take part, and we'll be popping up at some of these around the county, and I will throw a link in the chat as well, so you can see more information, and you can also follow this QR code here for more information. And then something Christian alluded to is we've been flyering for the air filter program, the ADE program, the Air Improvement Relief Effort in the South Bay for giving away the air purifiers. So if you all have any, if you're interested in flying with us or anything like that, please go ahead and reach out to me. You can email me and let me know, or if you have flyers that you'd like to leave anywhere for that. But that is all that is focused in the South Bay area, so not necessarily in our Portside community. And then also, this is just always a reminder, monthly reminder, if you have any events coming up in the community that you know of, that you think would be great to have us at, sharing information on air quality and health issues and health impacts, please reach out to me and let me know. You can reach out to any of us and let us know. Okay, thanks, that's all.
Thank you,
Or if there's
Lauren.
any questions, if anybody has questions.
Yeah.
or anything,
Are
but-
there any questions from folks? I'm not seeing any hands. I'm looking at the chat.
Perdón,
Hey, Monse.
una pregunta. ¿Algo de esto que mencionaste, Lorene, tiene algún evento programado en National City?
And Lauren, did you hear the question? So I think Monse is asking if there's anything programmed in National City.
No, not right now. So if you know of any events on National City, please let me know. Or if you have any contacts there for community events, we would love to know.
I think she was referring to the Parks After Dark series, unless I'm mistaken.
No, it's all City of San Diego parks, so not county. So they're all tied to City of San Diego recreation centers. So the closest is Memorial, I think.
And Monse, if you have any, yeah, I think to Lauren's point, if you have any events or any other things that you're thinking about that could be done, national city, do add it in the chat. I know Lauren, if you want to provide your email as well, and I do see you provided a link to the Perks After Dark, as well. But yeah, anything, any contributions, then we can follow up on that and think through of other places that Lauren and the team can be at for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Monse. I want to see if I see any other comments, any other feedback. But yeah, just confirming. Yeah, Lauren's email's on here. So if there are any other events, anything you want to highlight to share with that information with Lauren or with our team as well, and then we'll make sure that Lauren is CC'd on that as well. So we'll get going on this next section of our meeting. So for this upcoming section, we are going to be moving into some breakout groups. We're going to be talking through the subcommittees, the way that this is going to function, and is we are going to have 3 breakout rooms. These rooms are going to be self-select. We'll provide some clear instructions in a moment right now just for folks. But I did want to hand off the mic on a little background just on kind of the subcommittees and their role and how we're using that as part of those efforts. So Shalom, I think you're going to go so quick recap for folks that have not participated in these subcommittees. And then also, this time that we're doing it virtually as well.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. I apologize if this is redundant for some folks, but I also want to be mindful that there are newish folks to the group as well. So there are 3 different subcommittees that are part of the Portside Community Steering Committee. The first is monitoring data. And so this particular subcommittee informs and guides APCD staff on how to best display and communicate monitoring data in a way that's meaningful and accessible for the community. So at this subcommittee, our community monitoring team will be sharing with you a preview of a presentation, a reporting presentation that they will be providing at the next CSC meeting, but it provides an opportunity to ask questions, to provide feedback on things that aren't clear. And so it's an opportunity to kind of preview that information and then help our team do a better job, right, in communicating that out. The second subcommittee is the Implementation and Funding Subcommittee. So this tracks the Community Emission Reduction Program's progress. Also, it's a place in which people can bring different funding opportunities to help advance the CERP's goals as well. And the third subcommittee is the Community Education and Recruitment Subcommittee. So this really is about this group works together to strategize on how to inform the broader Portside community about the community emission reduction programs, elements and implementation, but also grow the community steering committee membership as well. And so Curtis on our community monitoring team will be leading the monitoring data conversation. I will be leading the implementation funding conversation. My co-facilitator, co-lead on that, Kevin isn't here today, but you saw Kevin at the last meeting. He'll be co-leading that space with me in the future. And then the lead for the education and recruitment is going to be Lauren. And so, and I'll have Christian walk you through the breakout rooms, but that's at a high level what to expect in each one of those breakout meeting rooms.
So I'm going to go into some instructions before we get going. So for folks that have These breakouts before in Zoom, this is going to be a recap for you. For folks that have not, I'm going to try to make this fairly simple. So we are going to have 3 breakout groups, as Shalom noted. You are going to be able to select one of the groups to join. We'll be spending about 40 minutes in each of the breakouts. When we come back as a group, we'll do a little bit of a debrief on any like major themes that were identified. For the actual joining of the breakouts, Juan from our team is going to be launching the breakout rooms. You'll see this pop up at the bottom of your screen show up. Once you see that, you'll be able to select one of those groups. All you need to do is click that join button, and that'll move you straight into that room. If you're having issues with that, you don't see that option, we'll have Juan in the primary room, and he'll be able to move you into the room that you need. So, if once you're there, just let us know and we can move you as need. With that, we are going to open up the breakout rooms. Juan, I think you've launched it. So we'll give folks a minute or two to auto select. I'll be here for before or for a second, and then I'll be joining one of the groups as well. But folks, you can start joining groups as needed. And if someone does need help, let us know and we can move you into these groups as well. Again, we have monitoring, data, implementation and funding, and then education and recruitment. I see folks moving. And then I see Carissa, your email. Carla, can you let me know which room do you want to move into? And I can move you into that. We can move into that room. Number 3. Juan, can we move Carla?
Yeah.
Sounds good. And Juan, I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to join my group. For folks that are not in the room yet, to let Juan know. Juan will move you into that room as needed. And Juan is also bilingual. So if you are a Spanish speaker, do let Juan know. So I see Alicia, Armando, Carissa, Carmen, Moisen, Christine, Margarita, and Nick.
Perdón, no sé si me escuchan. Necesito ayuda, no sé cómo moverme a algún cuarto.
Sí, señora. Señora Alicia, ¿nos puede decir a qué cuarto quisiera que la pusiéramos?
¿Alguien me escucha?
Sí. Señora Alicia? Oh, okay. Can you translate to Alicia Sanchez that I can move her to whatever room she would
No sé
be moved to?
Al que habla español.
Sí, señora Alicia. Sí, me puedes.
¿Está bien?
Margarita Moreno. Ok. Está bien, La mandaría al grupo 3 con Margarita Moreno también. And Armando and Carissa, is there a room you would like to be moved to?
Yeah, you can put me down at 1.
1? Okay. Carissa? ¿Algún de los cuartos que quisiera que la pusiéramos?
All right, folks. We'll give folks a minute to get back to our main room. We're running a little bit behind, but I think we'll make up a little bit of time here as well. So before we move on from this item, we did want to provide a moment just for a little bit of a report back on some themes or things that came up from your conversation. So I'm gonna just go through the groups. If group one, is there someone that can provide a recap, 3 takeaways?
Curtis, did you want to share?
Sure, I can share a little bit. So I basically gave an overview of some of the air monitoring data for the toxic metals program and kind of some of what we're seeing for levels within the Portside community. And we had a really good discussion around basically making some of the data more accessible to folks so that they can kind of understand like what it really means in like what it means basically if say I live in the community, what it means for me. And then basically just paring down some of the data sets as well, just to make it more accessible as well. It was a really good discussion. So if anyone else has anything else from the from that particular subgroup, feel free to chime in as well, please.
Thank you, Curtis.
Christian, I'll just add there was
Yeah.
also some discussion around the health impacts of the metals and what people can do about it. So yeah, just some interesting comments there.
Thank you. We'll go to group number 2, so implementation and funding. So is there someone who would like to provide an update or some takeaways from that?
Yeah, I'll start, and others feel free to add that were part of this group. We talked about truck routes. So we spent some time reviewing some of the analysis that Shalem and David have done on truck routes, both in Portside, in City of San Diego, and then within the city of National City. What was found was like for the city of San Diego and around the port, right? The maps don't quite align. There haven't been an update from like the previous iteration of the truck routes versus the one that's included in the community, in the most recent Barrio Logan community update. So there's also kind of some lack of signage that align with the new Barrio Logan community plan. So APCD staff has been reaching out to the city to try to identify getting new signage in those streets, right, where there currently does not exist. So there'll be some updates from them in the near future about that. For the city of National City, there wasn't a signage that aligned with the existing ordinance on truck routes. So there was just some conversations around what ways that we can encourage the city to engage the companies, the truck drivers to get that information out there as they try to explore whether there's funding to be able to put up some signage. And then the last thing we focused in on was kind of the apps, right? Like apps that have the truck routes included. And there's a lot of apps out there that have truck routes including like Google and Waze and others, but they're more specific ones. And so the conversation was really around like ways of potentially trying to streamline that, right? How do you make sure, because streamlining might be difficult given that, there's limited capacity to be able to influence like all the apps, but what are ways that we could potentially, with the resources that the APCD has, and I believe it was Sandag, right, who was talking about some geo-fencing, but then potentially also just talking to some of the trucking associations, right, to if there's any around, what apps they're prioritizing so that we can potentially inform locally, right, so those trucking companies to be able to then help ensure that they're using an app that's like the most up to date. So yeah, others feel free to add if I missed anything.
Thank you, Roman. Saw a thumbs up from David. So move on to the group number 3, and Lauren, I can jump in on the the key takeaways from it. So the first thing is that we are going to be using a box resource. So we were talking through the opportunity of using this tool to share information, send out a lot of the materials that we can use for education and recruitment, and locating that. So we talked through how to access that information through that platform. The other element that we talked through, Lauren gave an overview of the orientation slides. So these are orientation slides that were prepared for new CSC members. But there was also interest in some current CSUs members to also be able to see these orientation slides, as it provides a good recap and overview of some other different components in it. So we're going to make that available to all CSC members as current CSC members, as well as just as a resource that folks can have. Lauren, is there anything else?
Just a kind of quick review of the goals for the committee and little updates on kind of progress made and some exciting news that we have been onboarding new members. So that's exciting. And then there's also interest in the community. Some people shared to invite more people.
Sounds good. All right, folks. I'm going to keep moving through this. So, Shalem, I'm going to bring you up. Well, actually, I'm going to pause my screen because I think I'm going to move us forward a little bit. Okay. Shalem, I think you're going to lead us through a little bit of a year 5 check-in. So we have a little bit of a presentation. We're going to bookend that with one breakout group discussion. We're going to be splitting folks into and auto-selecting again into Spanish breakout or an English breakout. We'll lead folks through a quick conversation in there. We have one question for folks. So Shalem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christian. If we can go to the next slide, please. And then the next slide. So the 5-year check-in. So this committee actually has been together actually a little bit longer than 5 years. If you count, right, the time, the intentional time that was taken to develop the community mission reduction program, right, the CERP itself. But there's been about 5 years of implementation of those CERP actions and strategies. And originally, the Community Air Protection Program was, the thought was that it would be 5 years of implementation, but as folks began to move through the program, implement the strategies, not just here in Portside, but I would really say community steering committees statewide who were participating in the program really saw that there is an importance to continue the relationships, to continue that actually some of the strategies, right, are longer term than 5 years. And so there's a need for continued commitment. This here is a statement from the Community Air Resources Board Blueprint 2.0, which is really the guiding document. And one of the things we could do is we can make sure to include a link to this document as well, as we send out the listserv information. But it's really the guiding document that helps inform how the Community Air Protection Program is to be implemented. And in this, it talks about, you know, what does it look like for community steering committees to be doing this work beyond year 5? And it states that CARB estimated that it would take about 5 years once a CERP was approved to implement CERP actions. But we have learned that more than 5 years will likely be required to complete a majority of actions with emissions reduction targets for most CERPs. So this is not just Portside, but this is also statewide. And then it says CARB will work with air districts and communities as appropriate and as needed beyond year 5. And the reason why we're having this conversation today is kind of where we're at in that timeline. We're at year 5 in terms of implementation, but also to provide an opportunity for in that check-in to do some visioning as well. Is what will the next year or 2 of the program look like? Thank you, Cynthia. So Cynthia just put a link to the Blueprint 2.0 in the chat. and really work with you all to reimagine what the CSC looks like, from logistics, you know, how often we meet, to also looking at the CERP strategies that still need more work. How do we want to move forward with those? Are there other priorities that have emerged as well? Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about the engagement and co-development process of what, like, beyond year 5, that visioning process will look like. Today we're going to have a, you know, we're doing this presentation and we'll have breakout discussions, but I'd love to connect with each of you, and Lauren and David will be really taking the lead and supporting on this, but having one-on-one conversations with each CSC member, and hearing from you all what part of the process of the CSC has been working well. What are other ways that what are other things that can be improved in terms of this process and space and implementation, but also how may the program, or how should the program evolve, right, beyond year 5? So we'll be reaching out to folks to schedule one-on-one conversations. Also, we'll take all that information that we learned from you all in terms of how you'd like to see the program evolve beyond year 5. And we'll be doing a summary and analysis of your feedback, but we'll also be looking at examples from other CSCs and how they are evolving as well. So other CSCs that are in year 5 and what their vision is for evolution, to also get some inspiration and ideas from CSCs throughout the state. We'll also be looking at previous research that's been done. So for example, Professor London at UC Davis did an evaluation about how the AB617 program was being implemented statewide. Portside participated in that study. So we want to look at the results of previous studies to learn from as well, to help inform what that potential evolution looks like. And then also the other critical factor that we'd want to also take a deep look at as well is APCD and CARB's capacity and resources for ongoing, like beyond year 5, to continue to support this program. So what is our capacity and resources going to look like as well? And this kind of also fits back into the conversation we're having in the beginning in terms of ongoing AB617 funding, and what the program may look like moving forward. And then again, the state budget outlook for AB617. So we want to, in our analysis, take all of these things into consideration: your vision, what we learned from previous evaluations and studies, and looking at kind of budget and like staffing capacity and resources as well for ongoing, for what the next iteration of this program together can look like. And then from there, in this analysis, we'd love to come back to the CSC and share a draft framework of what the CSC beyond year 5 could potentially look like for Portside, based upon all these elements that would be included in this analysis. We'd want to share that draft framework probably in October, November. Get your feedback on that high-level framework, and then hopefully by December have a framework adopted of how we'd like to move forward together beyond year 5, to ensure that we're still meeting the needs of the community and still being able to move forward in a way in which continues to make meaningful improvements in air quality in the community. Next slide. So this is the same slide as well from the previous slide that's in Spanish. Again, talks about the visioning, what's part of the analysis, and then how the draft framework to the final framework is going to be developed. We'll make sure to have this slide deck up on the meeting resource page so that you can also take a look at it as well. We put it on 2 different slides. It was just too much content to put on one slide, but it's the same slide with information. So what are some of the potential elements that are going to be in the framework considerations or included in the framework? One of the things logistically, do folks envision that we're still meeting monthly, or do we move to quarterly, right? To move forward. I'll let you know that some of the CSCs that are in year 5 already, in other parts of the state, I know some CSCs in the San Joaquin Valley have moved already to quarterly as well. Not to say that Portside will need to do that, but I'm just saying that there are other CSCs that have different kind of meeting schedules as well. Are there any potential recommendations in terms of CSC governance that are still in alignment with the CARB Blueprint 2.0? For example, in terms of governance, more than 50% of the CSC membership needs to be community members who reside in the Portside area. So that's something we wouldn't, couldn't change, and nor would we want to. But, are there elements in terms of CSC governance that are in alignment with those requirements in the blueprint that we might want to take a look at? Looking at CERP strategies and goals, which of the goals we've made a lot of advancement on, which of the ones still need a lot more effort, looking at those, seeing which are still of high priority, and maybe are there different or additional goals that have emerged since when the CERP was adopted. Ongoing air quality priorities, community priorities. What does the future of also community air monitoring look like too? Are there ways to streamline information? Are there other priorities around community monitoring? Outreach, education, and engagement. The future of incentive program grants and priorities. We've been engaging in those conversations already with Kevin. What does ongoing reporting look like? And then also ongoing enforcement. Here are some of the elements that would be discussed as part of that framework. Certainly, this isn't a comprehensive list. There's other probably elements that will emerge as we engage in conversations moving forward. Next. So even though each of you are going to have more one-on-one time with someone on the OEJ team, the Office of Environmental Justice team, we also wanted to provide a little bit of time this evening for us to start kind of thinking collectively of what that vision for the evolution of the Portside Community Steering Committee can be beyond year 5, and what would be those kind of key things that are coming to mind that would be part of that vision. Again, this is just the beginning of that conversation. We're going to connect with each person one-on-one, but wanted to provide an opportunity for folks to engage in smaller group conversations, to also provide an opportunity to start to hear from others as well in this space. But before we transition to the breakout groups, I want to pause there and see if folks have any questions or comments before we kind of have these discussion groups.
I'm looking at the chat, raised hands. Not seeing anything yet. Okay, not seeing anything, Shalom. So I think we'll move forward with our breakouts. So just as a note for folks, we're going to have 2 breakouts. We'll have one that's going to be in English. You'll see that pop up in a moment, similarly to what we did a moment ago.
I think, Christian, you may have froze. Are you there? All right, I think we may have lost Christian. But what he was just sharing, that there's going to be 2 breakout groups. If English is your preferred language, go ahead and go to the one that's labeled English, click join. If Spanish is your preferred language, go ahead and click on that join button there. And then we'll have an opportunity for that breakout discussion. Then we'll come back in the main room to close out the evening.
And if anyone needs any help being put inside a breakout room, just let me know and then I can place you in there. Either English or Spanish. Si alguien necesita ayuda a que los pongan en uno de los grupos, nomás déjenme saber y yo los puedo poner.
Well, everyone, thank you. Hopefully, everyone had some good discussions in your small breakouts. We know that it's a little bit of a fast conversation, and I think as Shalem noted, that there is, we're going to be having these one-on-one conversations, and Shalem, I don't know if you're going to add a little bit more on this, but this is kind of like step one, the first opportunity we wanted to make sure that we didn't have this information shared with you and then not have an outlet, an opportunity for feedback. But Shalem, if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, so just a couple things. We'll be reaching out to folks to engage on those one-on-one conversations. But one of the things that we want to send to you all before that conversation, we're working on getting it translated right now, but is to send to you all just a high-level analysis of the actions that have been completed in the CERP, and then which ones are remaining or need more effort, right? I want to provide that to you all so that can also help ground that and inform that one-on-one conversation as well. So again, I've done that analysis, I'm getting it translated, but you will have that via email before your one-on-one discussion. We'll probably be reaching out starting next week to schedule those one-on-one discussions out to you all. And again, it'll be myself, David, or Lauren doing that. And then after the one-on-one discussions, we're going to take all that feedback and analysis, identify kind of the themes, the patterns, where the majority of folks are, the reasoning, right? Where the majority or where the minority of folks are, and the reasoning behind that too, and do a thorough analysis as well to be able to share that with you all later on in the fall. One thing that I didn't mention in the large group that I just also want to emphasize too, if your vision is like, you know what, we've done 5 years, that's it, I don't want to see it go on in the front, that's also a valid vision too, right? So I don't want to insinuate that as we talk about visioning, that continuing is the only vision or pathway forward. There's a lot of different perspectives and experiences in this group, and I want to make sure that all of that is heard and taken into consideration, right, as we continue excuse me as we continue these discussions as well. So thank you, Christian and Jazz, for facilitating those breakout groups. More to come.
So moving towards the end of our meeting today, so you should definitely have Shalem, Lauren, David's email, but just in case you don't, these are on screen. But as Shalem noted, you'll be getting more information from staff according to those one-on-one meetings. So with that, we're getting to the end of our meeting today. Did want to take a moment, see if there's any public comments from the public or questions before we move to close our meeting. And I'll look at our chat and our raised hands and see if there's anything. Not seeing anyone. So with that, we'll note our next steps. So one, plugging in that we have our August 26th meeting. This meeting is now going to be virtual. We're also sending out the weekly digest. And then I do see a comment actually from Carla. I wasn't sure if they were marked present, and I just thumbs up from Jazz. So I think we're good. And then that weekly digest. There's a lot of information we talked through today, so we'll be sending a lot of that through that weekly digest. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out. And then Jack, I do see your hand up, so maybe I'm gonna jump in.
Thanks. I was fumbling around looking for my button. I would have indicated it sooner. I am really interested in hearing a lot of the responses that have been requested here tonight. And I'm mostly interested in hearing them from actual members of the community, the people who are living there, the people who sat and listened to this for 4 or 5 years now, and to understand what is still on their mind, what they are thinking, what they feel they would like to see. I really, and given that probably most of them are comfortable communicating in Spanish, I went to the breakout room, this last breakout room in Spanish, just to listen as much as I could, but my Spanish is not good enough to really extract what I would hope to be an accurate understanding of what they're saying. So I just wanted to ask if next time we do this, next time around, and I would like to do more of it, could we also have the interpreters there in the opposite rooms to interpret for people who may want to see what other folks are saying? That's really what I would be interested in.
Thank you, Jack. And I think that's something we can definitely think through. How do we make sure that we have interpretation both ways so that we see a little bit of that information going both ways as well. So thank you, Jack. We'll make that note, and then I think we'll plan accordingly, I think, for future meetings as well.
Thank you.
So with that, before we close, I do want to see if there are any other comments. I do see some folks adding some information in the chat as well. So Sylvia as well added a note that they attended the Spanish room too as well. So if there's nothing further, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
And I think I heard Jack make a motion.
Yes.
I said.
Do we have a second?
This is Maritza. I second.
Maritza, second. Thank you, Maritza. So we're gonna move it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed say nay. The ayes have it. So with that, we will wrap up today's meeting. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you participating in our breakouts, participating in these conversations. And as Shalom noted, we'll be communicating with folks both on more information for some of the topics we covered, but then also those one-on-one meetings. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Christian. You too.
Everyone.
Thank you. Bye now.
Good night.